Hey folks, a few months back I reviewed the tiny micro ATX case, the Raijintek STYX, and well, I loved it. The quality was high and the sheer amount of stuff you could ram in there, it was impressive, as was the cooling for such a compact chassis. The thing is though, you do have to make some compromises with the micro ATX form factor, and after getting my hands on the ASUS Strix B350-F gaming ATX motherboard for review, and seeing how much more functionality was on offer, the decision to move up to the ATX form factor was pretty much set in stone. But this does throw up the challenge of what case I went for next. Well, doing what most of you are right now and scrolling through YouTube videos probably on the hunt for a nice ATX case, I was greeted with a wall of NZXT, Corsair and Fractal design reviews, which, let's be honest, are all great cases, but I wanted to do something different, keep the high quality all aluminium construction and the looks of the STYX, but in a size that can mix it up with the big boys. It's probably no surprise then that the ATX sized Asterion from Raijintek started to ping my interest, especially in its tempered glass classic guise. An ATX mid-tower which undercuts other mainstream cases, which have similar build quality and materials, and only pops in at slightly more than something like a Corsair 400C, which uses slightly cheaper materials in its construction to keep costs down. Being a less than mainstream case, the costs do fluctuate, but expect to pay around £110 if it's on offer at one of the larger retailers online, and around £130 to £140 depending on the colour during non-sale times. Raijintek also offers a plus version with additional features, but it lacks a glass side panel. The Asterion comes in one of two colours, and looks very much like a taller version of the STYX ATX case, which I loved. With its mixture of glass, steel and aluminium, the Asterion Classic is a sturdy unit, with there thankfully being no sign of plastic marring the high quality and premium feel. Taking everything out of the box, you're going to get a bag of black screws, a speaker and a couple of zip ties, which is nice to see, but it would have been nice to see more zip ties included, especially at the price. But I do appreciate the fact that money has been spent elsewhere, and rather than bundling in niceties which are quickly forgotten about once the build has been completed, they've spent that money on the construction and the quality of the case. A basic manual can also be found inside the packaging, and that should help you with assembly if this is your first time building. The chassis uses a mixture of steel, aluminium and glass to create a very clean and sleek design. It's simple, understated and really what I've come to expect from Raijintek. The entire front is constructed out of a straight piece of aluminium with diamond cut edges. In the rear you can clearly see the steel construction, where there are some unused mounting holes on this classic chassis. These are for the hinges used on the Asterion Plus, and the glass panel in the Classic is held on slightly differently. Both sides of the Classic are made out of tempered glass and are held in place by thumb screws, and there is no room for a slimline optical drive here with the tempered glass sides. On the bottom of the front panel is a simple Raijintek logo. Above that, there are no 5¼ inch drive bays. What you will find at the top is a circular power button with a white LED around it, and all in all the front of the case is superbly clean. And the designer-like appearance is certainly much more appreciated than the gimmicky, gamer-focused looks on many of the top-selling cases in 2017. The PSU bay in the rear is on the very bottom and comes equipped with a mounting frame. This means that you're going to have to slide the power supply in through the rear of the chassis. Above that you're going to find 8 motherboard expansion slots, which are each protected with individual and reusable covers. We've also got 4 grommet covered openings here so that you can route any liquid cooling tubes at the back if you so desire. Above that is an included 120mm LED fan, and there is plenty of room here, so you should have no issues installing a slimline AIO alongside some fans up top. Raijintek has skipped on the USB 2.0 plugs on the top, but instead we've got 4 USB 3 plugs, alongside the usual audio input-output. A nice inclusion is these USB ports on the top that can either be USB 2 or USB 3, meaning that you're well sorted for whatever variation of USB your motherboard supports. All the cables within the case are black sleeved, again a nice touch, and up top, just like the STYX, you're going to find a large mesh metal covering. The mesh is not easily removable from the outside however, and just like the STYX case, you're going to have to remove that glass side panel to push the release clips. As an interesting side note, the top of the case is also made out of aluminium, which is again really nice and keeping in with the theme of the front of the case. And this means that when you're looking at the case, you're only either going to see aluminium or glass. Looking under the Asterion, we can see two dust filters which are screwed down in place. Now I don't need to tell you that this means you're going to require a screwdriver to remove and clean them. It would have been nice if Raijintek had maybe found a different solution, but for the frequency that you're going to be taking these out and cleaning them, I'm sure it's not going to be that big of a problem. Before we dive into the inside of the chassis, there are the glass panels, the feature of this case. And Raijintek has done an absolutely fantastic job with these. They're thick, they're high quality, and they're lined with a black frame to cover the metal insides, and it gives a really nice and clean look. The tint is pretty dark though, which for me was part of the reason why I wanted the case, as it helps mute some of the more garish hues on the RGB spectrum. But if you want to see what's inside, you will want to have some internal illumination above what's included with the 3 LED fans that you get in the box. Speaking of the interior, the Asterion is actually quite simple, but it's very effective. There are no drive bays above the shroud, and the motherboard tray is one flat solid piece which spans the entire length of the chassis. The overall build quality inside the case is again excellent. There's no plastic parts here, and even the shroud is made out of the same material as the chassis frame. Behind the motherboard tray you get just under 1 inch of space, which is enough to route your cables nice and tidily. At the back we've also got some hooks to attach zip ties around the grommet covered openings, and Raijintek also allows you to install two 2.5 inch drives here with rubber lined screws, making for hassle and tool free assembly. On top of the PSU shroud you can also mount a couple of drives here. There's also plenty of space up front to install a radiator. Now it should be noted that since this is a fully enclosed front panel, there's no direct airflow and the cool air is brought up from underneath, so planning your airflow route is going to be important in this chassis. With this case, the PSU shroud, it's not just aesthetic, and underneath that, it's not just a place to store your cables. There are 2 drive trays underneath the shroud, and brings the total number of installable drives up to 6, which is certainly more than I'm going to use, and even with 2 fairly large 3.5 inch drives, there's plenty of space, and they fit in snugly with no issues or vibrations to note. In the rear and starting at the bottom, there is the PSU bay. 2 large rubber standoffs keep the PSU level and help eliminate any vibrations before they're passed into the chassis frame, which really does help. Trying the same PSU in my old Corsair Carbide 88R case was actually noticeably noisier. Above that, as I've already mentioned, are the 8 expansion slots, and Raijintek has engineered them with the screws actually on the outside of the chassis frame, which are in turn covered by a metal piece held in place by 2 screws. But if, like me, you're constantly tinkering and swapping out graphics cards, it might just be one of those pieces that you kinda forget to put back on. Taking a quick peek at the ceiling of the chassis reveals a simple but quite effective implementation which allows for 2 140mm fans or 3 120mm fans to be installed. I'm using the Raijintek Aura kit here that I've previously reviewed, and they're all set up as an exhaust fan to help promote air intake from the bottom of the chassis, and all 3 fans fit in nicely. You could also place a 360mm radiator up top, as there's plenty of space to do that instead. It should come as no surprise that installing the motherboard is done in the normal way, with the use of spacers and screws, and unlike the STYX, it is in a more standard orientation. There's plenty of space around the board, so you should have no issues reaching all the connectors thanks to the well placed openings on the right hand side. For reference, this build features an M.2 SSD on the Strix motherboard, an SSD in the back, and the 2 2TB hard drives underneath that PSU shroud. With the glass panels back in place, the Asterion continues to impress. Now, airflow might seem a bit like an elephant in a room here, with there being a lack of venting up front, but the reality is that with a single GTX 980 Ti and an overclocked Ryzen 7 running at 3.8 GHz on all 8 cores, all air-cooled, using the top of a case as an exhaust to promote air intake from the bottom helped keep everything cool. And even long play sessions at Battlefield 1 multiplayer, never seen the temperatures get above what I would have been getting in the smaller ATX case like the Corsair Carbide 88R. Obviously though, if you're going to use an AIO or liquid cooling solution, you're going to get much better thermal results. So what we've got here is a case which steps away from the swathe of gamer focused cases, instead opting for aesthetics much more in line with a high quality, premium design piece of furniture. And this is something that I absolutely love, and I certainly would not be embarrassed to have this case, tempered glass and all, sitting in the desk or anywhere else in the house, which is really something I can't say for a lot of premium cases out there. I guess you could maybe brand it as a professionally premium case, as it looks great in any setting without being ostentatious, garish, or trying to pass a faux premium aesthetic with plasticky materials. In short, it should be fairly obvious that I love this case, and I think that my hard-earned cash was well spent on it. Yep, this is not a sponsored video by any stretch of the imagination. I bought this case out of my own pocket, and I'm really glad that I did. Its quality is high, the design is absolutely sublime, and for the price, it ticks all the right boxes, and makes stepping away from the herd just a little bit easier. So if you're looking for a mid-tower to build in, and are tired of looking at the cookie cutter gaming cases that you see every day on Reddit, or you just want something that's a little bit more grown up, then the Asterion from Raijintek is surely worth a look. I really can't recommend this tower highly enough, and it's going to be a case which I'm sure is going to be with me for a long time. But hopefully you'll have found this video useful, and if you have, please be sure to hit that like button, share this video, and if you've not done so already, consider hitting the subscribe button. And let me know what you think of the Asterion, or if you've got any other under the radar recommendations for cases. But that about wraps it up for this overview of the Asterion Classic. As always folks, take care, and I'll see you all in the comment section down below, and in the next video.